God is dead. One of the most infamous quotes by one of the most infamous philosophers of history, Friedrich Nietzsche. Born in 1844, Nietzsche saw that his time, or rather his past, of romanticism and religious morality would ultimately be overtaken by the era of industrialism, secularity, and science. God is dead. His words live on because they portray something profound and fundamental about the experiences of the people of his time. The end of an era and the beginning of another. Now, what does Nietzsche, or more importantly his words, have to do with youth and change-making, you may ask, and I am sure to get back to that. But first, I will take the liberty of talking a little bit about myself, too. I am Ninni Norra, and it has been many years since I started my journey in social activism as a change-maker. And therefore, it would be quite impossible to recount every project I've participated in, every initiative I've taken, and every challenge I've had to encounter. I've worked as a youth advocate, journalist, educator, a political representative for the European Union, and finally, I have established my own association, TEDxSYK. I've also been privileged enough to pursue my passions in classical music as a violinist, pianist, and composer. I've been privileged enough to study business and technology at one of the best universities in Finland, Aalto University, and therefore, there are so many experiences to be grateful for. And yet it is so easy to forget where we originally came from, what started it all. I was a sensitive child and a child with a strong sense of justice, driving me to identify systemic deficiencies and fix them. I hated seeing people treated unfairly, and I hated seeing things managed inefficiently. I was also a keen reader, a lover of books, we could say. And I suppose, combined with my personality, I was driven towards these stories of heroic deeds against the evil forces. These unlikely battles where a lone hero slays the dragon. And I suppose it is therefore only natural that as I grew older, I found myself working with societal questions, because for me, change-making has always been about agency over the misfortunes of the world. However, with time and experience, I suppose, these stories of grandiose battles between good versus evil, straightforward narratives, they've started to feel more and more distant. Because what I've come to realize is that they don't quite describe the complexity of today's world, its problems, and its people. Yet still, these narratives persist, don't they? In change-making, in media, because we humans, we love them so deeply. We love that idea that we could be that lone hero, slaying that dragon, and therefore saving the world from its darkness. Now, I sound rather cynical, don't I? But I assure you, it is my genuine intention to convince each and every one of you to become a change maker, because frankly, that's what the world needs right now. Global tensions, climate change, the mounting debates on artificial intelligence, none of those things are going to solve themselves, after all. But to accomplish that, and more, hopefully, we need to update our understanding of change makers and change-making itself. So let us start by asking, who is a changemaker? Shall we? I've worked as a financial literacy educator for nearly half a decade now. When I started, I had, frankly, a very little clue about what I was doing. But now, with the years that have included dozens of schools, hundreds of students, appearances at nationwide events, interviews, and even a lecture at the Bank of Finland, I've been able to speak about the opportunities of investing and its societal importance. Yet the question I encounter time and again when talking about those curious about investing is the following. Am I ready? Now, whether you're about to start investing, a company, or a social movement, unfortunately, my answer to you is that you're never ready. Because truthfully, no one is, truly. But isn't that a great reason, the perfect reason, to start right now? In the world of fantasy, the hero, the protagonist, can often expect a sign of some kind, a very clear call to action, a prophecy, a dream, a mysterious visitor, perhaps. But in real life, unfortunately, we are always unsure of how and when to start. We are so scared of being imperfect, being unprepared, when in reality it is just a natural part of the human condition. So my advice to you is, don't wait for a sign, not for too long anyway, because the chances are that there won't be any. Just find what lights you up and take action. Secondly, let us examine the nature of change. What does change look like? I think it is great to dream big. I'm a big dreamer myself, truly, but we humans, if we only, and we often do, we only notice what is big and immediate. It is so easy to become overwhelmed and even immobilized in front of the many problems of today's world. And when we see these big monsters lurking everywhere, it can feel quite frightening to take that first step. We don't know where to start, and even if we do, even if we manage to start our journey, we often encounter with the question, is my contribution worth anything? Now, a couple of years ago, I came across a very unknown and obscure topic, the Energy Charter Treaty, an international agreement with significant problems environmentally, economically, and socially speaking. An agreement that grants an artificially unfair advantage to fossil fuel companies and that hinders our ability to take action in climate politics. Now, joining forces with friends and collaborators, we organized an event that, while nearly as obscure and perhaps quite unknown as the ECT topic itself, managed to spark an inspiration. It managed to spread beyond its boundaries. After the event, I managed to convince two youth organizations, major youth organizations in Finland, to take a stand against the Energy Charter Treaty in public statements. I was requested to discuss the problem further with the then Commissioner for Climate Action and the Minister for the Environment and Climate Change of Finland. 2 years later, the European Commission has proposed a holistic exit plan for the Energy Charter Treaty with the support of the European Parliament. And individual countries, such as the United Kingdom, have also announced their departure from the ECT. Now, surely this wasn't all due to our contribution only, due to this one event, but our contribution was part of something bigger, part of these hundreds, perhaps even thousands of voices asking for something better, asking for things to change. And my friends, that is what change always looks like. It's always collaborative. It's always lengthy. It doesn't happen in a day. And when you start, the most effective thing isn't always the obvious thing or the popular thing to do. Finally, I would like to talk about the arenas of change-making. Where does change happen? In the year I turned 20, the Finnish government appointed me to represent the citizens of Finland at the Conference on the Future of Europe, organized by the major institutions of the European Union. Now, at such a young age, with that kind of responsibility, I was beyond excited, but also kind of nervous. Nervous about my performance, whether I'd be able to deliver. Indeed, while working at the Parliament House in Strasbourg and collaborating with prestigious institutions on the side, I was given more attention than ever before and ever since in my changemaker journey. Yet, during those times, I also felt powerless. I felt more like a prop than a politician, attending events with no evident purpose other than creating a facade of inclusivity for media consumption. It became abundantly clear that I wasn't there primarily to debate and challenge, but to be presented as evidence that, yes, we are inviting the young citizens to the negotiation tables. So when the conference ended, and so did my term as the representative, I left unsure of myself and my ability. Because even when invited to the great halls of power, even when invited to negotiate with these important people in these important settings, I frankly felt like I didn't accomplish all that much, if anything at all. So, begrudgingly, I returned to working with grassroots organizations, convinced that I could never enjoy change-making, social activism the way I once did. Ironically, that period of time was exactly what I needed to rediscover my passion. Smaller but experimental projects, journalism, informal but transformative conversations and encounters, those felt more significant, more important than any speech or interview I had given, any conference I had attended. And don't get me wrong, I still appreciate these opportunities every now and then, but I think it is important to recognize that unlike in the world of fantasy, in real life, the most important battles often happen behind the scenes, out of sight. Roughly a year ago, I founded my own association, Ole Think, committed to generational progress, difficult topics, and collaborative effort. Because I think in our fragmented world of reactionary discourse, polarization, and performative activism, it is important to understand how these storytelling narratives fuel such trends. How holding on to simplistic thinking, over-rationalization of events, putting our hopes in larger-than-life leaders in hopes that a hero will come and save us, it is holding each and every one of us back from reaching our potential. So, much like Nietzsche believed God to be dead in his era, I think we must accept that in our modern, complex world, so is the hero. Now, this isn't a matter of grievance, I think, but an opportunity to let go of fleeting victories, of unhealthy expectations in favor of sustainable progress, The kind of progress where no one needs to burn out. The kind of progress where no one feels the need to present as all-knowing. The kind of progress where there will be more questions and less statements, less assumptions. The kind of progress where every single one of us feels that we have something valuable to contribute and the tools to make it happen. So in a world where change is no longer in the hands of a solitary hero, but a power within all of us, let us put aside our outdated perceptions. Let us write the next chapter in the story of humanity together in the new era of change. Thank you.